Thanks for listening to talknorth.com, and thanks to our sponsor, Bite Squad, bitesquad.com, or on the Bite Squad app. Our special deal this weekend is celebrating the Gopher women's volleyball team making it to the NCAA tournament and celebrating their first-round games. Use promo code GophersVB. Obviously, it's in volleyball. GophersVB, all one word. Starting on Thursday night, running through Sunday night, you will get 10% off of your order. It will work one time for anybody this weekend. Gophers VB at bitesquad.com or on the Bite Squad app. Thanks again to our listeners who participate in these Bite Squad specials, and thanks, of course, to Bite Squad, bitesquad.com. Food for your mood delivered. Big news day in Viking land. Vikings lose another game on the road to a decent team, and Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman fire offensive coordinator John DeFilippo and promote Kevin Stefanski to the offensive coordinator job with 3 important games left in the 2018 season. We're not going to be cute with this one. We're going to get right to it with Tim Yotter, publisher of Viking Update. This is talknorth.com, your sports and other stuff Minnesota podcast network. Thanks quickly to our sponsors, WhizKids.tech, Twill in the Edina Galleria, Mississippi Pub, Beaver Island Brewing, FixologyRepair.com, Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin. Let's get to it, Tim. They fired Flip. What do you think?
Well, I'm not terribly surprised. It seemed like tensions had been rising over the past month as DeFilippo continued to, I think, put the passing game ahead of a balanced attack. And there are times where I understood it. When the running game isn't working, you have to find something that is. But I felt like more and more there was a lack of adjustment to a shaky offensive line. And I go back to 2016, in the middle of the season when Norv Turner quits on Mike Zimmer and Pat Shurmur comes in. I thought he did a tremendous job of adjusting to what the personnel was. And at that time, again, a bad offensive line, one that was racked by injuries, really limited how much the Vikings could get established with a downfield passing game. So I believe that DeFilippo should take some blame on this. I think there's quite a few others around the organization that can take some blame as well. But ultimately, it feels to me like DeFilippo became kind of the fall guy for Mike Zimmer, and Kevin Stefanski became the fallback guy, where he's the one that Zimmer blocked from becoming offensive coordinator of the Giants under Shurmur this offseason. And so it's basically at least a 3-week trial for Stefanski to see if he can kind of get back to some of the things that Shurmur did in 2016 that helped that offense at least, have some form of productivity, whereas this offense seems to have regressed over the past several weeks.
It has. The interesting thing here is, Tim, when Shurmur left, I thought it would be a natural move for Stefanski to become new offensive coordinator. I know he's very highly thought of within the organization. He probably would have been the most likely person to carry on what Shurmur was doing, and what Shurmur was doing worked really well. Let's not forget, Shurmur did it with an iffy offensive line, with a backup running back, with a lot of backups, and Case Keenum. He got the best season Case Keenum's ever produced. So I thought it was logical. Now I will admit, I'm after meeting DeFilippo and watching the way the offense functioned the first few weeks, I thought, okay, this guy has a good reputation too. He certainly seems like he knows how to operate a passing offense. Maybe this works out great. But here we are. Stefanski's belatedly getting his chance. What do you think of Stefanski?
Well, look, first of all, he's been around longer than any other Vikings coach currently on the staff. He's been here for 13 years, brought in under Brad Childress as an assistant to Childress in his first year, and has coached since then, coached tight ends, running backs, and quarterbacks. So I think he's become very well-rounded. The thing that I thought was very interesting, though, looking back at a combine interview with Mike Zimmer, he talked about, one of the reasons that he wanted Stefanski around is to help bring some of the things that Pat Shurmur incorporated into the offense and transfer that over as John DeFilippo took over. I mean, if that is that important to you, then maybe you just have Stefanski be your coach and have his familiarity with what Shurmur was doing continue on, and you just have a different quarterback running it, and everybody else doesn't have to learn a new scheme. So it's a curious situation to me. And, the fact that Stefanski was blocked from taking the coordinator position with the Giants. First of all, assistant coaches are usually given 2-year contracts. So that means that Stefanski was in the middle of his 2-year contract at that time, which, unless he got an extension, which I don't know that he did, his contract would be up after this season. So, if he's got 3 games and does a good job with the offense in these last 3 games, you would think it would be a long-term solution, or a solution at least for the next couple of years for the Vikings. But you do wonder the tensions with Mike Zimmer and offensive coordinators, how that all plays into it, because he's been through his fair share over the last 3 years.
Yes, he has, and twice has lost or fired a coordinator within the middle of the season, which is just, it's not a good look. It's not a productive way to operate. I know that, at the time I thought it was probably more on Norv than it was on Zimmer, but when it happens again with another offensive coordinator, maybe we should go back and question that viewpoint. Let's be honest, the media gets accused of playing the blame game a lot, but we don't actually fire people. We don't actually make people pick up and move in the middle of a season and get out of town. We don't end people's careers. These people do. Spielman and Zimmer do. So who deserves most of the blame for this stumbling Vikings offense right now? DeFilippo, the offensive line, Cousins, Spielman, or Zimmer?
I honestly, and I wrote this after last night's game before the news came down, I think there's quite a bit to be shared by all of them. I mean, DeFilippo, I don't think was creative enough. And we've talked about this before. Offensive coordinators are always one of the first ones to be blamed when things aren't going right. But I look at what Shurmur did in 2016, where he started getting the ball out of the quarterback's hand quickly and finding receivers, even if it's at the line of scrimmage, to get sort of that extension of a running game through the short passing game. And I didn't see a lot of that with DeFilippo. Now, the reason he would have had to have gone to something like that is because of the offensive line. So, I blame a lot of the short yardage issues that the Vikings had on Monday night on that offensive line, not being able to execute what should have been fairly simple assignments. I blame Cousins because he looked really skittish to me early on. He looked unsure of himself. Like he wasn't, the number of times that he double or triple pumped before actually getting rid of the ball was concerning. And it gave me the idea that he just wasn't comfortable with either what's been called or how defenses are scheming against the Vikings. I blame Spielman because he is the one that has not really dedicated drafts to improving the offensive line and instead has gone in other positions early in the draft. When, a couple of years ago, I got a kick out of Spielman saying that there was a study that showed that, offensive linemen that are drafted higher in the draft have a better chance of succeeding.
I remember that. That was the best comedy routine I've seen in years.
And I mean, it's to me, it's befuddling that you would actually say something like that because, those are the better ones in general as the higher guys toward the start of the draft. So, and I do also put some blame on Zimmer because it after the history over the last 3 years with offensive coordinators, to me, it seems like he must be a very difficult guy to work with when it comes to, he wants something done. And if that doesn't work, then he wants something else done. And so, his criticisms of DeFilippo, I think actually were a bit warranted. Maybe there was too much volume, as he said about a month ago with this offense. And I completely agree with him when he said, after the Patriots game, that the Vikings should have run the ball more because they were successful running the ball, and Dalvin Cook only got it 9 times. So, I mean, whether it's DiFilippo, the offensive line, Cousins, Spielman, or Zimmer, I think you can throw blame all over the place. But ultimately, if things don't work out in these final 3 games, if the Vikings offense still looks terrible, there could be changes made above DiFilippo, whether that's Zimmer or Spielman or, who knows what else is coming down the pipeline.
That spiel is why this is the most popular show on talknorth.com. Tim covers all the bases very rationally and with great depth. I can't even add anything to what you just had to say. Reminder for those who do listen to this program and any of the other shows at talknorth.com, please download before you listen. It's a better listening experience for you. It's better for us as well. Thanks to our producer, Brandon Morton. If you'd like to advertise with this show or others on the network, we had about 145,000 listens last month. You can reach me at talknorthpodcast@gmail.com. We'd also like to thank our primary sponsor on this program, Whizkids.tech, WHIZKIDS.tech. Whether it's managed IT, unified communications, or cloud services, they can be your technology leader. And please check out their billboard on Washington Avenue.
Hello, Minnesota sports fans. This is Michael Thanner, founder and CEO of WizKids. WizKids is a Minneapolis-based managed IT, hosted VoIP, and cloud services provider. Businesses today require fast response times, skilled support staff, clear communication, and technology recommendations that align with their business goals. At WizKids, we do this each and every day with our clients. When you call into our help desk for support or work with one of our higher-level engineers on a complex issue, you'll find our staff personable and ready to roll up their sleeves to help you solve your technology problems. Reach out to WizKids today to find out how we can help your business meet your technology goals. Visit us online at whizkids.tech. That's whizkids.tech. WizKids, make it happen.
So the easy thing to highlight from the Monday night game is the short yardage failures. If you fail on 3rd or 4th down, you get no chance to score points. You can't sustain drives. You don't get deep into your playbook. And they were not able to, really, other than the quarterback sneak, they weren't effective on 3rd and 4th downs.
Yeah, and early in the game, they were in some terrible, some terrible 3rd down situations where it was 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11, and those are going to be hard to overcome. But when things progressed into the second quarter, they had a lot of, I think it was 8 downs on 3rd or 4th down where they had less than 3 yards to gain, and they failed. They were 2 for 10 on 3rd downs. They were 0 for 2 on 4th downs. And, some of them were very logical calls. Now, the 4th down run to Latavius Murray, I think I would have rather seen Dalvin Cook trying to get to the outside on that rather than Murray. But it was also a failing by the blockers up front. To have a free runner that could, that is Bobby Wagner, by the way, one of the best middle linebackers in the league, and he comes free. I mean, that to me is a failure of somebody blocking up front, whether that was Rashad Hill as an extra offensive lineman or somebody else. You just can't have that. And, that was happening too often. So if I'm Stefanski, one of the things, in addition to trying to get the ball out of Cousins' hands quicker, that I'm looking at is they've got to be better in the red zone. They've got to be much better on 3rd and short situations, and they need to set themselves up more often for 3rd and short by having a more balanced attack on 1st and 2nd down.
What I really remember about Shurmur was how often, I still remember a couple times, Jerick McKinnon they'd run some kind of a misdirection play to him, and he'd score untouched in the red zone. The excuses are, okay, things are crowded in those situations, whether it's red zone or short yardage, and it's hard. They're hard yards to get, and you miss one blocking, blow up the play. But Shurmur was brilliant at it. It just looked like they could always get a receiver open on those on a simple route. They could always use misdirection in the running game to find open spaces, and that just didn't happen this year. So even though I don't blame DiFilippo, I don't give DiFilippo 100% of the blame at all, I do think that was a failing here. And I also think that Latavius Murray, as good a guy as he is, as good a player as he is, and he's a good player, Sometimes he doesn't get the pads down low. He didn't have any